Welcome to Conversations with Healers, a podcast and video interview series that features intimate, soulful, and cozy conversations with self-healers and healers. Healer to healer, we dive into all aspects of self-healing and healing, and being and becoming a healer. I am Damla Aktekin. I am a healer and the host of this podcast, and I can't wait for you to listen to this conversation. If you are new to this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe so that you can be aware of new episodes. I also invite you to visit adropofom.com, adropofom.com, where I share a lot of free resources for self-healing and healing, and you can take a free quiz to find out what your energetic wounds are and how they may show up in your life. Discovering what your wounds are is the first step in healing them. I hope you enjoy this episode. There is one more thing I would like to share with you before you listen to this episode. I created a wonderful container to help you heal your energetic wounds and activate the infinite light and potential of your inner children. It is a crystal energy healing membership called Chakra Bliss Vault. Every month you will receive 3 new crystal healing sessions. Plus, you'll immediately have access to my entire energy healing recording library when you sign up. The membership is really affordable and will continue to be so. You can find out more about it at adropofom.com, adropofom.com. I invite you to make healing your energetic wounds and connecting with your inner children a priority and invest in your well-being by becoming a Chakra Bliss Vault member. Hello everyone, this is Damla Aktekin, and today I'm going to share a story, a myth with you that is near and dear to my heart and that I've been exploring. And I'm also going to tie that to the inner child healing work that I help people with. So bear with me. This is going to take a while, but we're going to open the petals like one at a time, and we'll dive into the beautiful, beautiful landscape of myths. And anytime you dive into the landscape of myths and story, I always tell people, not just listen with your ears or watch with your eyes, tune in with your entire body, tune in with your heart, with the ears of your inner knowing, with the nose of your inner sensation, and see where this story touches you, see where this myth may speak to you. Okay, so we will dive into the myth of the descent of the goddess Inanna. Inanna is a Sumerian goddess. She is the queen of heaven, or the goddess of life. And she represents sensuality, sexuality. She represents fertility, abundance, fruitfulness, as well as beauty. So she's all about life and vivaciousness. So Inanna decides to attend the funeral of her sister Ereshkigal. And Ereshkigal is just the opposite. She's the queen of death. She is the goddess of the underworld. She lives under the surface, and there are layers and layers to get to her. And Inanna decides that she wants to visit her and to go to her and to honor her dead husband, which may or may not have died because of Inanna, by the way, but we're not gonna go into that now. And Inanna, before she leaves, says to her beloved advisor and helper and the messenger of gods, who is a goddess herself, Nishabur. So her beloved advisor, she says to Nishabur, if I'm not back in a couple days, go and bargain with the gods and goddesses for me and send me some help. And Nishabur says yes. So Inanna goes to the gates of the underworld. She has worn her full, beautiful goddess outfit. She has jewels. She has the crown of heaven, finest clothes. She has beads, lapis lazuli, beads around her neck. She's wearing a breastplate. She's wearing golden rings. She has a scepter, a rod of power. So she's very regal, and she shows up at the doors. And the doors keepers go to Ereshkigal and say, do we let her in? And Ereshkigal says, treat her as any other being, meaning she can't just go through the gates without letting go of something. So at the first gate, the gatekeeper says, you need to give me your scepter, and she gives the scepter. At the second gate, she gives the beads. At the third gate, she gives something else. And at the very final gate, she also gives her garments, and she's completely naked. And she goes through 7 different gates to get to this point. 7 different gates. She's completely naked, completely powerless in this underworld. She's completely vulnerable. And Ereshkigal says, you are going to die. And she dies. She's hung above the ceiling like the other corpses. So at this point, Nishabur realizes that Inanna is not coming back. Inanna is dead now. She's in the underworld. Nishabur goes from goddess to god to god to goddess, pleading with them, asking them to help bring Inanna back. And none of them says yes, except for her father, Enki. The father god Enki gives Nishabur, or activates, 2 beings called the Gala. Now, the Gala are special. They are genderless. They are neutral beings. They're neither male or female. They're both and between. And they go to the underworld with this mission to bring Inanna back. And Enki tells them, gives them some instructions around this. So when they go through the gates and they get to Ereshkigal, Ereshkigal is actually pregnant and is in labor. And Ereshkigal is in immeasurable pain as she's giving birth. She's moaning and yelling, and she says, oh, my belly. And the Gala, because the god Enki instructed them, Gala says, oh, the goddess of the underworld, you are tired. Oh, your belly. And then Ereshkigal says, oh, my back, like the pain. She's hurting so much. And the Gala says, oh, my goddess, oh, your back. And Inanna is, not Inanna, Ereshkigal is deeply touched by this. Like she's in literal pain. She's giving birth, and these beings are there to see her pain, to give voice to her pain, to echo her pain. And she does say this in the poem, in the myth. She says, who's echoing my cry of pain? And she offers them a gift. They can ask her whatever they want to ask her. And these 2 Galas say they refuse the rivers of infinite wisdom and life, and they say, we just want to bring Inanna back to life. And Ereshkigal agrees. So finally, Inanna is given the food of life, and she revives a little bit. And then she's given the water of life by these 2 Gala, and she's completely alive and full and well. And she goes up to the surface. And then there's a little bit more to the story where she sees everyone mourning, and her husband is not morning, he's actually partying, and he takes Inanna's place and goes to the underworld. So, from my point of view, I see the underworld as the world underneath your skin. So the flesh is the soil, and the depths and the layers of your inner life reflected in your body is your underworld, under realm. And this part of you that you may not quite be aware of, your subconscious, all your unknown yet dreams and desires, all your unrealized potentials, they all live here in the underworld. And to me, Inanna's story, Inanna's descent, not ascension, but descent to the underworld, to the body in my wheel, is really special because, first of all, she's going through 7 different gates, and they're synonymous to the 7 chakras. So she has to give up something, let go of something at each chakra to get to a place of complete vulnerability. And that's what your inner world demands, complete vulnerability. And one of the reasons I see people not wanting to go there is it literally feels like a life or death situation. Because if you have had trauma in your life, and if you live with trauma, those memories are still in there, and getting vulnerable again, going into your underworld, is almost subjecting yourself to those horrors again, to those parts of your life where you felt like you might be dying. So it feels like a literal death to you. And I find that it's so interesting that Inanna has to get completely naked, not just a little bit, completely naked, and surrender and show up naked. But here's the important part. She doesn't go there without help. And Nishapur, to me, is an important figure because Nishapur is what I do. Nishapur's role is what I do, or what I embody for people is that negotiating element, so that you don't just go into the underworld just by yourself, but you have someone who you can rely on to negotiate for you, to bring you back to life, bring you back to what Inanna represents, which is pleasure, and Ereshkigal is in pain. And interestingly, one of the most important parts of this story for me are the 2 gala. That's another thing that I hold symbolic role for in inner child healings, because what you need most and what your inner children, and I'll come to the inner children in a moment, but and how I came to work with them, I'll explain also, but what your inner children and inner landscape needs the most is an empathic, loving gaze, unconditional acceptance, and empathy, in the sense that I see that you suffered. I see that you've been through this. I see how this must have felt. And that's exactly what the gala are doing. They're neutral. They don't take sides. They don't, they're not about being or doing. They're simply echoing. They're holding the space for unconditional, non-judgmental, compassionate gaze. And they say, they hear the pain of Ereshkigal, and they repeat the pain out loud. And this doesn't always have to be that in my sessions, we don't even go into the story or what happened in the past. It could simply be me repeating what you might sense in your body back to you. It could be as simple as that. And in the case of going down into the depths of your being, if you haven't done that before, if you haven't, if that feels scary to you, that help becomes crucial, that empathy becomes crucial. And that is until you can develop enough parts of you to have that empathy towards yourself. Again, I'm a placeholder for you, for your own inner compassion, but I can sort of guide you through embodying that yourself. And Ereshkigal is interesting. She's angry with Inanna because she hasn't visited. So it's Ereshkigal to me is all the parts of you that are hurt, that are waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard, and they're angry sometimes, and they're impatient, and they want what they want, they need what they need, and they get angry. Just like a small child, they get angry when they don't get the attention they feel that they deserve. And Ereshkigal is also the keeper of the pain. That's more often than not your body. Your body is the keeper of the pain, the pattern that helped you survive at the time. And Ereshkigal is still living through that pain, and that pain is the gatekeeper, is the gateway to new life that Ereshkigal is birthing. I love the symbology in this story. So even in the midst of that pain, there exists the potential for new life coming through representation of, like, our verse sphere, death, the holder of death. Ereshkigal is birthing new life, has in her body, we have in our bodies the potential for new life coming through. And there are a few different layers to this too, but what I want to iterate is that so what Ereshkigal represents here, being the body, being the pain, is almost like the pain that we hold also holds our biggest potential, that innocent child that's wanting to be born out of the pain or through the pain. It's wanting to be born. And all it needs is a compassionate gaze, empathic gaze, someone to say, I see your pain, I see your transition, I see your change, and I'm here for you. And that's more often than not what we need in times of change and transition in our lives, when we're faced again and again with some of the wounds that want to be seen and need to be seen. And of course, you could live your life without ever going into the underworld, but then you also risk the chance of being reborn like Inanna did. So she died. She literally died, and then she was fed the food of life. She was fed the water of life, and she was reborn as a new and different version of herself. One perhaps similar to the story of Persephone, which I'm not going to go into today, but Persephone is the Greek goddess who was abducted to the depths of the underworld. In Inanna's case, she actually chose to go to the depths of the underworld. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. But she also, when they both come up, they're different. Everything's a little deeper because they now have seen what's underneath. They now have known what's above the surface, and there is an increased height, an increased depth, an increased expansiveness to their experience. Like they're aware of what's going on underneath the surface. They have been through the gates, or Inanna has been through the gates. She has been through the initiations, and she is now ready to get back to life, to pleasure and sensuality, and to feeling her body in a new way. So the way I came to this kind of work, I'm going to go there, and then I'll come back to this myth somehow, I'm sure, is that I became a mom in 2012. And that was my getting naked moment. And in that moment, a few different things began to happen. I realized I came in touch with all the pain that I had and that I hadn't seen in the underworld. I also somehow found in my vicinity things that were calling out to me, things that were sort of like Nishabur sending help, I guess, things that were offering some help. And one of them was crystal healing. And I'll talk about that more in another video. But let's just say that through crystal healing and through some other methodologies, I began to explore my underworld, the world of energetic wounding, the world of mystery, and the world of patterning. And in that, I discovered I could sort of move through that through openness, through that nakedness and surrender, and through trusting that I would somehow become a different person through this. And I began to offer crystal healing and energy healing sessions to other people because I was finding relief in what I do and what I practice. And in offering crystal healing to other people, I would guide them through like an inner journeying to their bodies. And more often than not, they would come back and say, Damla, there's this part of, like, there's a weight in my heart, or there's this weight in my stomach. And I would say, let's go and feel into it. And one day I just asked, like, what do you see inside this weight to someone? And they said that they saw their 4-year-old self. And I began to discover that if I asked the right questions without leading people on, most of the people would tell me that they would see a version of themselves. Sometimes this version was a 14-year-old self. Sometimes it was a 7-year-old self. And occasionally they would see a family member, like a grandmother or a mom or a dad. And they would occasionally tell me when I asked, how long has this sensation been in that part of your body? They would say, longer that I'm alive, so forever. And that to me indicated presence of ancestral wounding, like multi-generational wounding. So I began to understand that there was more to this. I had a dream. I had a dream where I go to Egypt to see the pyramids. I'm standing by the pyramids and I see this beautiful night sky. And the night sky is filled with lots and lots of stars, beautiful stars. And I keep showing the night sky to the people. And I'm like, look at this beautiful night sky. And there's some people who can see it and some people who can't see it. And I woke up knowing that the night sky, the stars were representations of the inner children and the infinite potential that we hold inside. So I see your inner world, the underworld, the inner realm in your body, represented by your body symbolically, as this beautiful inner night sky, inner cosmos. And sometimes clouds can come in front of the stars, and the stars may not be visible. The stars being the beautiful quantum potential of your inner children. And in those times, we feel lost, we feel in discomfort, we feel disoriented when we only see the clouds, but not the night sky. So I began to explore this with my clients, and first of all, I haven't seen or encountered a broken inner child. To me, inner children are those little stars in you that are that cannot be broken. They are the most highest and beneficial uh, unfolding of you at any given moment in your life. The biggest potential that you have, and that potential exists no matter what. It might take you a little while, years even, to get to discover that potential, but it is there, and it shows up in various ways. And I also realized that this work, inner child healing work, much like the crystal healing work, is a work of relationship, is a work of making contact. So the gala don't come to the goddess of the underworld and tell her, oh, you're fine, you don't have to be in pain, or let us fix you, let us change you. Because there's a purpose to the cloud being there. The cloud is your inner child protecting itself, creating a pattern that it feels will keep it safe. So it has a job. But it is possible to offer the inner child another job, one that will let them shine, and one that will perhaps not inflict pain in your body for them to communicate with you. So in all of this, though, you enter into the inner realms of the inner children, which you have multiple inner children. You have also the inner children of your ancestors in you. When you enter there, you need to be in absolute awe, reverence, and surrender. So even a goddess like Inanna had to surrender and get naked and get vulnerable and get humble in the face of entering these really, really tender areas. You also need to get empathetic, so no judgment, no fixing, and simply making contact, affirming, reaffirming, seeing, acknowledging, all of these things. And what happens in the end is that these inner children talk with the language of dreams, myths, and symbology. And just talking to them, yeah, you can talk to them, but you kind of need to talk to them with their own language, with their own playful imagery. And in doing that, you sort of awaken the potential of Ereshkigal's child being birthed through her, that beautiful, playful, and symbolically charged language that can happen when you interact with children. So one thing I will say is that if you have been through really deeply significant trauma, it may not even be in the possibility of your imagination to go into the body, which was my case when I went through emergency C-section surgery. I couldn't even feel into my body. It was just so painful. So in those cases, I want you to keep in mind that getting help is absolutely essential, absolutely essential. And there's a certain preparation that happens for this kind of work. A cultivation of resources, if you will. Like Inanna was adorning herself. You need to sort of find ways to expand your body through daily rituals, through daily practices. So you're sort of, it's a bit like on the very first layer, just like a farmer would
fork the soil, begin to breathe air into the soil before you can go down to even deeper layers and dig deeper, if you will. You need to sort of tend to your daily basic needs. And the daily basic needs also include energy maintenance and energetic nourishment. And one of the ways you can do that is through my membership, Chakra Bliss Vault Crystal Healing membership, where you have access to recorded crystal healings 24/7. So you could sit with them, you could sleep with them. So that would provide a little bit of soul aeration and expandedness, nervous system nourishment, so that when you come to me like completely depleted, we would first need to just fill you up a little bit before I can even say, let's dive in. So I want to give you some examples of how this work might look in real life. And one of the most beautiful examples is, first of all, I don't guide this inner children healing, journeying in a way that's forceful, in a way that's manipulative, because that's not how you make relationship. That's not how you make contact with another living being. My way is, my gift is to stay in the moment and to say the next best thing, to bring to you the next best imagery that might allow you to open up more. Or if you find a place where things aren't quite opening up, just like Nishabur did, to sort of negotiate with the gods and goddesses in you to send you some help and to give you that little extra piece of safety, that rope that you can hang on to climb back up, or to bring even more empathy and compassion into all of yourselves. So that's my role. I'm an intuitive empath. So before we even connect, I sense into what chakra area we might be working with, which is, again, my gift. That's how I work with the chakra symbology. So that gives me an idea, but I don't even share that at the beginning because I trust your inner guidance system, which if your body is ready, if your nervous system is ready, always works. And if you're not ready, there are lots of resources that I share on adropofom.com, adropofom.com, that you can look into. Another one is a free resource that I share, which is allowing life to flow, EFT tapping meditation. It's a daily nourishment to let you, again, bring more flow, more expansiveness to your container, to the body. Okay, so I tune into the person, and then I have a sense where we might be going, but then it's up to your intelligence. More often than not, your body, when I ask the question, and that's the question I ask the most often, what needs most nourishment, will take us to a place where there's symbolic significance. And I'll give you an example. So when I did this recently with a lovely woman, her body said that where she needed to go was behind her neck, like sort of over the shoulders and behind her neck. And she found some anxiety there. She found some things there, which when we worked again with the language of the inner children, the inner realm, this sort of uncomfortableness behind her neck turned into a beautiful cape, like a hero's cape. And I asked her, who does this remind you of? And she said her father. She actually said that even before we got to the cape part. She said that heaviness, that anxiety reminded her of her father. And then she also did say her father was her hero, which made a lot of sense because she had taken on, knowingly or unknowingly, the same role. Because when I asked her, who is the hero, who is the person that people go to in your family for help and support, she said, She was her. That was her. She was the hero. And in that beautiful realm, what came up was what she discovered, and what I, which was beautiful to witness, to see her discovering, was she discovered that her hero also had anxieties that she had taken on in her attempt to be like him. And the beautiful gift for her in this journeying was to see that her hero wasn't perfect. Her hero, her dad, had anxieties, and that was okay too. And to see that in her life, she doesn't always have to be the one wearing the cape. It's okay to have anxieties. It's okay to be human. It's okay to not be perfect. Another example is someone who was experiencing this weight in their hearts. And when we looked into there, she saw this huge rock. And inside the rock was her 4-year-old self. And when I asked her about, what would it feel like if we were to, work through this part of her that needed to be seen, heard, and nourished, and which we did, and to sort of let go of this, what would be possible in her life if she allowed this to happen? And she said it would be possible. Like, she was able to imagine a few things that were going on in her life that would be easier, that would flow much easier, like her career, her relationships, when she is able to nourish and see this part of her. There's almost always, when we can get to that inner core, the core of pure potential in a session, there's almost always some sort of gift, some sort of message there for you that relates to your life here in the now. And I always tell people, if you're wanting and working and trying to accomplish something, like you want to run somewhere, there's a goal in front of you, and there's this huge rock living inside of your body. Yes, you can still move towards that goal, but it's like this rock is keeping you in place, wanting to keep safe. So you might as well take the risk of getting vulnerable, take the risk of making contact with this part of you, to experience ease, to experience lightness. And lightness is a word that comes up a lot when I ask people, how do you feel after this work? They say lighter, freer, in more flow. Someone that I worked with recently said, it's quiet. It's quiet, Damla. And this was someone who had a lot of noises and stories in their heads. And then the stories began right away. And this person is continuing to work with them, of course. But I just want to give you these examples to show you what might be possible if you venture into this realm. And for me, it's an evolving and changing journey. Now I'm realizing more and more that the inner night sky is there, but the cloud is an essential part of it too. So to embrace that too, that belongs. The night belongs. The lights, of course, belong, and you can make them shine brighter, but then everything belongs. So how can you be with that? How can you make space for that? So as my work evolves more and more, I will share with you more and more. For now, I am offering one-on-one relationships, because I find that there is a definite relational portion to this, which is it's a lot more pleasant to go down there with someone with someone holding your hand, giving you like a lantern to show you a few things and to help you make some connections. Sometimes in the dream realm, in the symbolic realm, we don't always easily see those connections and meanings. So that's also my job. And I am working on a longer online group, inner child exploration, if you will. I will share with you about that when that's up and running. And as always, I think the key here is to take responsibility. Whatever is here is now yours. Whatever wounding is here is yours. Whatever potential is here is yours. So to take responsibility to form a relationship with this inner realm, with this beautiful, life-giving soil that is your body, that is the soil that everything else emanates through and with. And Inanna was a brave goddess. She said, I'm going in. But even she asked for some help. And the help part, it is, it doesn't always have to be me. My wish and hope is for people to be able to do this work after they get introduced to it, of course, introduced to the language, introduced to the elements of it, for people to do this themselves a little bit too. But I'm also very appreciative of the fact that this is coming through in my work right now in the way that it is. There's something here for me to see and learn, and for the brave souls who partner with me, for them to see here, to see and learn. And there's something beautiful about that too. So I'm very, very grateful for this journey and for this part of it to be this way. And if I figure out a way to bottle this, as one of my clients put it, they said, can you bottle this and give it to me? I promise you that I will, but I'm not there yet, and that's okay too. So thank you so much for listening. I feel like I've been going on and on and on, but I appreciate you if you've listened this far. Thank you. And I will include the link to work with me. Either it's for you to work with yourself through self-healing. Like I said, you can explore my crystal healing membership. That's definitely a beautiful start to even say, let me be held in a loving container. And you don't have to do anything or be anything to do that. And then if you want to dive deeper into the land of myth and mystery that is you, I'm here for you, and I'll include some information about that as well. Thank you so much. Be well.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Conversations with Healers. If this episode spoke to you in any way, please leave a review or comment, like or love it, and share it with others in your life. This is a true soul love project from my heart to yours. I really appreciate your help in spreading the word. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and check out other episodes to listen to some extraordinary healing stories and advice. Have a beautiful and wonderful day.